Good morning, man.
Good morning. Good morning.
Thanks for doing this with us.
It's a pleasure. It's an honor.
Excited to have you, dude. So where do we start? Tell me a little bit about Nick, man. Who's Nick?
Well, Nick Velez, born and raised in East Los Angeles, all over LA County, but primarily East LA, Boyle Heights area. Yeah. Enlisted in United States Marine Corps, 2005. I come from a Mexican family, first generation. Parents are from this city in Mexico, Guadalajara, Jalisco.
Okay, nice.
My mom's from Atlisco, Puebla, right? They met here at in middle school and in the East LA area, and that's kind of where my family would started, right? Yeah. From there, they moved out different parts of LA County, from Southgate, Whittier. Everybody just kind of spreads out from there, right? But I enlisted in the Marine Corps in 2005.
Okay.
I wanted to serve my country after 9/11. Really, that's kind of what happened. I mean, I've always wanted to join the military. Yeah. From a very young age, from middle school, I wanted to join the military. I felt
was your family in the military, or what sparked the?
No, I have no one in my family that joined the military. I mean, it all matters how much you want to hear about this story, but it all started, as a young kid. When I was in 6th, 7th grade, I was at Belvedere Middle School in East LA, and one of my math teachers, Mr. Pelvis, he was an airborne ranger, right? Wow. At that time, all I knew was the Army, right? Saving Private Ryan. Most of the movies are Army movies, where you think it's Army, right? You don't know the difference at that age. And I at that time I was like, yeah, I want to join the military. I want to join the Army. I want to join the Army. I would just talk about it, right? Yeah. It was just conversation, right? Something I knew I knew college wasn't for me, right? I knew I wanted to do something physical.
So at that point, you're already like, I'm done with school.
Yeah, at that age, I knew that I wanted to join the military. Okay. But I wanted to do the military. I wanted to do law enforcement. I wanted to do it all, right? Who doesn't at that age, right? But one thing I noticed was that I always had a calling for that type of world, right? That type of discipline, just being around guns and battlefield and war and those type of movies always intrigued me.
Yeah.
So when I got to high school, 9/11 happened, right? In 03, right? I mean, 01, right? And I was a freshman at the time, a freshman or a sophomore at the time. And I remember waking up in the morning and watching the news, and
it's fake, huh?
It just didn't look real. I remember walking down and my dad had the TV on. He'd watch CNN and Fox News every day, flip back and forth, right? Yeah. That's what we did back in the day, right? Yeah. Before all the YouTube and all the new alternative media now. Those were the two big channels that everybody watched. And I remember watching them, and I had heard about the Twin Towers, but we're from the West Coast. We're from LA. We don't see them every day. Yeah. Right? So the only thing you knew about Twin Towers was remember those basketball players? Is it Tim Duncan and
Robertson?
Robertson, right? Those are the Twin Towers for me, right? Right. So my dad's like, yeah, they crashed into the Twin Towers. A plane crashed into the Twin Towers. Yeah. I said, well, what do you mean? And I'm watching the TV. I'm watching this. I'm like, it's probably an accident. They probably ran into that. But then I go to school and I think I'm in first or second period. We're watching it live because everyone was watching it. And another plane crashes into the Twin Towers. So that's when, school officials maybe got word that, that there was planes hijacked, and everyone's was on high alert. I remember all the teachers and everyone was like, waiting for the principal or someone to say, hey, it's time for these kids to go home. Right. There's jets flying in through downtown LA, and my high school was near downtown, 5 minutes from downtown LA. So, we don't know what's happening, but we know that there's fighter jets flying by, and I'm like, it felt like a movie. And I was like, whoa, I think we're gonna go to war, right? At that time, I remember I felt some type of patriotism where I wanted to do my part, and whatever it was, I didn't know who the enemy was at that time, but I wanted to do my part. So, a day later, 2 days later, we find out it was Osama bin Laden had been planted, and it had to do with the Taliban. And I said, I want to join the military. I want to join. I remember.
How did your parents feel about that?
You know what? My parents have always been supportive. No matter what I decide to do,
Yeah.
they're gonna back me up 100%. I have the most supportive and amazing parents anyone could ask for. Anyone. I mean, I tell them, hey, I'm gonna go jump off a bridge and bungee jumping today. All right, I'm skydiving today. All right, be careful, make sure you're safe, and what parents do, right?
Yeah.
But they never said, don't do it, or you should think of other alternatives. It's just do what you do, and you can do it great.
I think that's important because, I think now, the changes to the culture and society, I feel a lot of people try to protect their kids too much, and you need that the space to fail. Your parents gave you the space to go try things, and it sounds like they were there for you in case you fall to pick you back up,
Mm-hmm.
And that's how we grow. You need that freedom to go and try new things and make mistakes, and then that landing spot where it's all right, get up and do it again.
Yeah. That had been a safety net.
Yeah.
Right? Knowing that he's gonna fall.
Yeah.
He's gonna fail.
It's okay.
And that's fine. We're teaching him a lesson.
Yeah.
We're teaching him that it's okay to fail.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's where we learn.
Yeah.
Right? If you're successful every day, you're not learning.
Right.
You need to fail. You need those losses, right?
Right.
I don't know if you heard of that.
Yeah. I have a cousin that is into MMA.
Yeah.
And at his gym, there's a lot of high level fighters, And he's like, yeah, I get my ass kicked all the time. And I'm like, whoa, that's something that you shouldn't be bragging about that, And he's like, no, that I'm being challenged. I like it, because I don't want to be the best. If I'm the best, I outgrew my circle.
Mm-hmm.
I need to be in a circle of people above me so that I can keep on learning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a learning curve. It always is, right? Even when you lose, you don't really lose.
Yeah.
You just learn.
It's a lesson.
You just learn a new lesson
Yeah.
on what you can do better to win the next time, right?
Yeah.
So, going back to that story of feeling patriotic and feeling like I got to do my part. At that time, I already had been involved in this group called the Devil Pups.
The Devil Pups?
It's called Devil Pups.
Pups, okay,
And
Pups.
it's a summer camp where they send you to Camp Pendleton.
Oh, wow.
Right? So at that time, I kind of knew I wanted to join the military. I knew I wanted to join something, but Devil Pups was ran by Marines, right? And I remember after that camp, it was a 2-week camp coming back home. I was talking to my dad. I said, Dad.
So you were actually there for 2 weeks.
I was there for 2 weeks.
Wow.
My parents dropped me off in Camp Pendleton. All right, see you later. Because they found out about this. I found out about this through a high school police officer.
Yeah.
He was a police officer in our high school, and he's like, "Hey, I think you'd like this. It's it builds discipline, and it's gonna teach you a little bit more about the military." Some of the kids were there by court order. I was there on volunteer status. So it was a mixed bag of individuals, but I grew up in the East LA community. So all these guys were just like my homies back home, right?
Yeah.
There were kids from everywhere, all parts from LA, North Cal, SoCal, and we all went there to kind of get our butts kicked by all these drill instructor type Marines. But what it did is I embraced it. I loved it. It was awesome for me. I was like, wait, I'm away from home. I'm making my bed every morning. I'm getting 3 square meals a day. I'm marching to the chow hall. After that, I get to work on these weapons and clean rifles and learn about something that was never introduced to me. I'm the first in my family to ever join the military or even think of joining the military. So at that time, I knew I wanted to join the military. And I would say when I got back from that camp, I was talking to my dad. I'm like, hey, Dad, there's this group of men called Marines. He goes, oh yeah, that's a different branch. It's not the Army.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm like, well, what's the difference? He goes, well, the Marines are the first in. They're first to fight. I'm like, well, if you had a choice, I told him, what would you do?
Yeah.
What would you join? He goes, if I had a choice, he goes, I joined the Marines. They're the best. So from that point forward, I said, all right, the Marine Corps it is. So I remember after 9/11, the next day, there's recruiters. There's recruiters in our high schools.
Wow.
The recruiters, our high school would produce so many Marines. All branches, don't get me wrong. There was the Army, there was the Navy. In every class, there's at least, 5, 6, 10 graduates going to the Navy, another 15, 20 going to the Marine Corps, maybe 4 or 5 going to the Army. But the Marine Corps was just, it was strong. There's a lot of graduates going there every year. I remember them coming back to our high school football games, and they'd come in their uniforms, and I'm like, damn, these guys look sharp, right? So I remember going to the student hangout area. I forget what they called it, but we call it the quad, right? The quad, right? And I remember the Marine recruiter, and he always looked the sharpest. He was always in shape. He had his ribbons, and he had his haircut, always squared away, clean. And I went up to him and I said, hey, I introduced myself and said, hey, my name is Nick Velez. I want to join the Marine Corps. And he's like, well, how old are you? At that time, I was 16 at the time, 15, 16 and a half. He's like, well, you're not old enough. I said, well, can I join now and just come back to school after I finish boot camp? And then, because I heard the Army had a program like that, right? And it's all just scuttlebutt. It's all things you hear. You don't know if it's true or not at that age. He's like, no. You need to graduate first. You need your GED or diploma. Then I can enlist you. Or you can sign up at 17 with your parents' permission. Okay. And then once you graduate, go to boot camp. Okay. So I kept in contact with the recruiter.
You had to graduate and then you could...
Either or. Okay. You can either graduate, be 18 years old, and not need your parents' permission, but you need a diploma. Or you can still be in what they call the in-depth, the DEP program, where you're still in high school and you're working towards your diploma. However, you're underage, you're still 17, and you're signed up to enlist, meaning that you have a ship date. You have a date you're going to boot camp.
So you just speed it up a little bit.
You're just ready. So that way, when you get out in a month, you're in boot camp.
Wow.
So I did that. I once I turned 17, my parents met me at the recruiting station. The recruiter picked me up from high school, drove me to the recruiting station. My parents met me there, and I already knew the job I wanted to do. So I had been to the recruiting station a couple times because they like to bring you in. They like to, for lack of a better word, groom you, right? Yeah. To make sure that you're ready and that you know what it takes, that you can do your pull-ups, that you're in physical shape. And at that point, I was already training with them. I would go on the workouts. They go work out a couple times a week, and I go on runs with them. I do, the push-ups, the pull-ups, all the stuff that they want you to learn, the rank structure, right? So that way, when you go into boot camp, you already have kind of some type of training or intel, and you know what you're getting yourself into. And they're also looking at weeding out the weak, right? Because they want to make sure that you finish boot camp, because they need that. They can't have you join and just drop out, or else they lose their numbers too. They need to hit a quota, right? So I had gone into the recruiting station prior, and I remember looking at the posters. And I don't know if you remember the old posters, the old Marine posters. There was like,
be all you can be.
That's the Army, right? Be all you can be. The few, the proud, the Marines, right? And I remember watching looking at the posters, and there was this poster of this Marine coming out of the water. I don't know if you remember. He had night vision goggles on. It was covered in like swamp, murky water, and with a rope tied around his chest and whatnot. And I remember telling the recruiter, I want to do what that guy's doing. He goes, oh, that's recon. That's reconnaissance. You got to be a badass to be reconnaissance. And I was like, what do I need to do? He goes, we need to join the infantry first. Not necessarily true, but their infantry will definitely prepare you for the recon. So I did that. I said, all right, I want to go infantry. I want to be a rifleman. Yeah. It's a 0311. That's the MOS. And when my parents met me at the recruiting station to sign the dotted line, they were like, well, this is the only hiccup they had. They said, mijo, why do you want to go infantry? Isn't there like 500, 1,000 other jobs that you can choose from?
Something less dangerous?
Yeah, something less dangerous. For one, I didn't have the ASVAB score to choose any job I wanted to. Right? So I was limited on that. And two, there was no ifs, ands, or buts. I was going infantry, or I wasn't going in at all. So that's what I told them. I said, Mom, Dad, if you guys support me, if you guys, like you guys always have, I said, I need you to sign that dotted line, because I'm going infantry, and that's what I want to do. So they did it. They signed a dotted line. I graduated high school in June of 2005. By July 25th of 2005, I was in boot camp.
Wow. How long were you in?
I did my 4 years. So it's an 8-year contract. 4 years you're active duty, and then the other 4 years you're inactive reserves. So if they can always recall you during those 4 years.
So during that time, what would you say were the biggest takeaways that like help prepare you for the future? The structure or?
Well, think about the Marine Corps infantry. I can only speak for the infantry. It's a well-disciplined machine. It's been around for now going on 248 years. It was started in 1775. There's a history behind the Marine Corps that separates it from every other branch. I mean, nothing against the other branches. They all have their great history. But the Marine Corps takes their traditions and their operations serious, right? To where there's standard operating procedures that the Marine Corps has that are translated through every battalion, and every Marine Corps infantry battalion operates the same way. I know the Army, things change from battalion to battalion, from regiment to regiment, or division to division. In the Marine Corps, it's the same. Now, in the Marine Corps, you're taught, mission orders, right? You're taught operation is called OSMIAC, right? Which is operation, situation, mission, execution, administration, command, and logistics. Where in the civilian world, we call that a business plan.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Tracking? And then we have our frag orders, right? Which is like you're gonna get an order because you have a mission and you have to go and you gotta attack that hill. And here's your platoon, here's your fire team, or this is your squad, and this is your order. Now figure out how you're gonna get on top of that hill and take out the enemy. Well, in the real world, we call that a pre-shift meeting, right? Yeah. Or a morning meeting, right?
Yeah.
So, while you're in the Marine Corps, you're just taking it in. You're taking it in. It's part of your job, which is part of your job. It's part of mission accomplishment. That's one of the things they teach you, right? Mission accomplishment, no matter what. It's mission, right? Having the mission, knowing what the mission is, and backtracking from there, right? So now, fast forward to 2012 when I opened my restaurant in Downey, all I had was Marine Corps experience, right? My Marine Corps infantry experience, from deploying to, combat, from having deployments to, with, MUs, which you call them expeditionary units, Marine expeditionary units. I was always put in leadership positions, and those leadership positions helped me become a leader now in the real world.
Yeah.
Right. So, yeah, the physical part was awesome. Yeah, the waking up early, getting somewhere on time is important, right? If you're not 15 minutes prior in the Marine Corps, you're late, right? Using those lessons, using that, what the Marine Corps taught us, and embedding that into the real world will make you that much better, right? So
do you think, I guess it's different for everybody, right? Like, what's the correct path for you? Should you go to college? Is it some form of military? Is it straight to work? What do you think?
So with that said, it's a little bit different. Not everybody that joins the Marine Corps is successful when they get out. Some people can use it to their advantage. Some people don't know how to apply it. But I always tell Marines this: if you join the Marine Corps, you already have what it takes to lead your own company. You already have the tools, the tactics to apply to the real world. Whether it's opening up a restaurant, starting an insurance company, you have the knowledge, you have the experience of leading. If you can apply that into the real world, you'll be unstoppable.
Yeah. I think, like, judging from my personal self, like, I didn't go to college either. I didn't go to military. I barely finished high school, And I started working at a young age. And as I went through my career, like I really struggled with that because I didn't know like how to do it, you know? I didn't know how to be a leader. Like I'm still learning how to be a leader. I didn't know how to run a team. Like I'm still learning all that, you know? All the structure and the discipline, like I didn't have that. Like, so I did a lot of things wrong. And I kind of wish I would have had that guidance because I think I would have been in a better position today, you know? So let's back up a little bit. So you opened in 2012.
Yes.
What inspired you? What made you take that jump of like, I want to be a restaurant business owner?
Oh, that's another hour conversation. But if we're ready for it, we can talk a little bit about what got me into this restaurant world. This is a tough industry.
Yeah, it is.
I tell people this. This is the infantry of the real world. And why do I say that? Because in the infantry, you're the first one up and you're the last one down.
Yeah.
In the restaurant industry, you're the first one up and you're the last one down. You get there before everyone and you leave after everyone, right? So I was going to college in Seattle at this time. I was attending Bellevue College. I was working on the transfer program with the University of Washington. I was a poli-sci major. I wanted to be an attorney. I wanted to wear a suit 9 to 5 and I always have that I always saw that the attorneys, and I had a teacher in high school who was an attorney, an immigration attorney, and I felt that he made a lot of good and he did a lot of good for our people and for our raza. Yeah. So I wanted to do the same thing. I wanted to get into immigration, and I wanted to help our people. But at the same time, I was involved in other business startups in Seattle. So I knew that I had this calling for business. You know, my dad has been in business for over 40 years. From the real estate business to lending to his own startups, property management. So I've always had that. I've always had that type of passion, right? Even in the Marine Corps, I mean, I was doing what I can to make an extra buck, right? From cutting hair to doing laundry for Marines that were just lazy and didn't want to do their laundry, right? I just always found a hustle. So at that time, I was going to college in Seattle. My dad called me one day and said, "Hey, there's this restaurant for sale across the street from my office in Downey." My dad's office was in downtown Downey, across the street from Portals.
Okay, nice.
Right? He said, "Hey, there's this restaurant for sale. I want you to fly down here and take a look at it. I think, you can run this, you can do this, you have what it takes." Mind you, I was 24 or 25 at the time. All right. But at 24, 25, I was already just, dialed in. I knew what I wanted to do. And when I ever had a mission in front of me, I was all about mission accomplishment and executing. So nothing against the 24, 25-year-olds nowadays, but I see the difference, right? At that age, I was ready to go. Yeah. So coming back from combat at 20, 21 years old, I already felt like a grown man. I felt like I already had a lot. I already had proven a lot. I already did a lot. So it's like I didn't have nothing to prove just to anyone but to myself, right? So my dad called me and said, "Hey, come take a look at this." I flew down from Seattle. I saw the restaurant. I was telling you earlier, it's a small restaurant. Yeah. It's just 2,000 square feet. Here in Temecula, we're in 7,000 square foot location. It's a huge restaurant. Yeah. So I saw this restaurant. I saw this bar. I said, "Dude, this is it. This is cool. I can do this." But I've always paid attention to all types of leaders. I've always listened to motivational speakers and read books on business. And I remember listening to Mark Cuban, right? Once, and Mark Cuban said something that stuck with me. They asked Mark Cuban, how is it that you come from the IT world and you get into into the basketball world, and in a couple years you're leading the champions into the NBA championship, right? The finals, right? And he's like, oh, hold on. He goes, I'm not smart. I'm not a genius. He says, I put smart people in smart positions.
Yeah.
And that's why we're at.
Yeah.
And that's why we're at where we're at today. So I always took that into consideration and saying, all right, I don't have to be the smartest man in the room. I don't have to be the smartest man in our business. I have to be able to sit back and assess the situation and put those key leaders, those smart people in those positions where they need to be and where they're going to excel. And that's what I did from the very beginning. I knew that I didn't know anything about the restaurant industry, but I had a best friend, Calvin Spencer. I'm not sure you can see that here through the video, but Calvin Spencer was my business partner, who I served in the Marine Corps with. He went to culinary school after the Marine Corps.
Nice.
He was bartending our last year in the Marine Corps. So he had all that knowledge. Me, I just had the admin. You give me some paperwork and documents, I can get them done. I can throw a party. I grew up partying in the party days, right? Throwing parties in our backyards, selling all kinds of contraband that I'm not going to talk about here.
Flyer parties.
Flyer parties. You know about the flyer parties, right? Yeah. So I grew up in that era, right? The flyer party area. So I always had a calling for that. I had a lot of friends in college.
Yeah.
I was working at some clubs, promoting. So I had this love and this passion for events and marketing without even knowing it, right?
Yeah.
So from that point forward, I said, okay, Calvin, I need you to meet me at this restaurant because my family might be investing into this small restaurant here. I called Calvin. I said, hey, Cal, what do you think about this? We sat down, we had lunch at the restaurant. He looked around, he said, yeah, let's do it. I said, but look, check this out. I want to build this restaurant and I want to name it. I don't know the name yet, but I want to honor all our brothers who never made it back from Iraq. I want to honor them here at the restaurant. So he said, dude, I'll put my 2 weeks in today, because he was working at a restaurant in Long Beach at the time. He was running the kitchen there. He put his 2 weeks in, and the rest is history. We decided to name it Bastards after our battalion, 2nd Battalion, 4th Marines, the Magnificent Bastards. So that's where the name comes from. We're the Bastard Battalion.
Do you get chills thinking about that?
Oh yeah, to this day.
Yeah.
It's a story I don't mind telling.
Yeah.
I have to tell it every day. With a name like Bastards,
Yeah.
you have to tell that story every day. Let me explain. Right? Everyone's like, well, you don't have a father, like something like that.
Yeah.
But it's a great story to tell.
Yeah.
It's a great way to honor. What better way to honor our brothers who never made it back than to tell them their story over and over again?
And you're still really involved with the veteran community. You have a nonprofit.
I'm heavily involved with the veteran community. I have a nonprofit that I founded in 2015. We focus on veteran-to-veteran therapy. We believe there's no better pill than connecting veterans to other veterans through outreach programs. The name of our nonprofit is Save the Brave.
Save the Brave.
You can visit. You can. Anyone who's watching this you're a veteran, and you want to get involved with our community. Go on to SaveTheBrave.org. You're gonna read a little bit about our nonprofit and what we do. We focus on outreach programs. Right. Many times there's a lot of great nonprofits out there. Great. Everyone's great at what we do. We focus on having fun. And how do we do that? We have 2 primary conduit programs. One of them being offshore fishing. We take veterans fishing offshore from San Diego, LA. I was telling you earlier, even Baja. We go down to Baja and we do some Baja trips down in San Quintin. And we also have a jiu-jitsu program. It's called Save the Brave Jiu-Jitsu, where we understand what jiu-jitsu does, what martial arts does, right? You mentioned something earlier about your cousin being in mixed martial arts.
Yeah.
Well, what happens with mixed martial arts is that it's a lesson learned every day. Every day you fail, because every day you're gonna get your butt kicked.
Yeah.
Right? And life is the same way. Every day you're gonna fail. Every day you're gonna get your butt kicked. But if you can wake up, get back on that mat, and give it another try, maybe today you pull guard, but tomorrow you're not pulling guard. You're gonna try to take him down because you understood that when you were pulling guard, that was your weakness. Well, you can apply that to the real world, right? And either you can stand back and wait for them to approach you, or you can move full force and approach life 100%. So with jiu-jitsu, we feel that it also translates well and it helps veterans. We call it mat therapy. We call it fishing salt therapy, right? Because it works. We focus on those two programs because we feel that veterans need to get out of their comfort zone.
Yeah.
When you're fishing,
we need to disconnect.
when you're out in the water, you're doing just that. You're disconnecting.
Yeah.
Your cell phone that I've been having in my pocket right now and it's been ringing nonstop. There's no cell phone reception when you're 100 miles out in the ocean.
That's how far out you go, 100 miles?
We go to 60 to 100 miles, sometimes more.
Wow.
We're out there. We go deep.
Yeah.
Deep in the bush, right?
I tried that a few months ago, and I think I made it like 30 miles out before I was like throwing up. And
You know what?
I didn't make it.
You need to get your sea legs, and I have to take you out fishing with us, right?
Yeah.
I have to take you fishing with us and what we do. But when you're out there, when a veteran's out in the water, and he has no cell phone reception, all he has to depend on is just like he did in Iraq. The guy to the left and the guy to the right? Or gal nowadays, right? It might be a gal, right? So when you're out there fishing, you're on the lookout. We call it bolo, be on the lookout. What are you on the lookout for? For birds diving, right? Because what is that telling you?
There's fish.
That there's fish there, and the fish they're diving into fish, right? The fish are there feeding on fish that are up on the surface, right? You're looking for boils of fish that are jumping up and down, because that's telling you that fish are jumping up, eating fish, right? So you're constantly thinking too. So now you got your mind off the everyday, BS that's bothering you back home. And before you know it, you're casting your line out, just fishing and casting, and maybe you spend all day casting, but isn't that life? All day you spend trying to catch that fish, trying to make it happen, trying to survive, trying to get that new job, trying to get promoted into that new job. But then finally, that last cast, you feel a tug. And we say the tug is the drug. Because when you feel that tug, once you get promoted, what do you want to do? Well,
it's chill.
We're like, whoa, man, I feel motivated. I just got promoted. I feel I can do more. Maybe I can be, I know I'm a supervisor, but maybe I could be, the manager or the director next. So now I caught that first fish. The tug is a drug. Now you want to cast again and catch another fish. I want to catch a bigger fish.
Yeah.
I want to catch a bigger fish. So it also translates well to the real world, to where now when you're fishing, you come back and you're like, whoa, that fishing trip, not only did I feel like a reset and I felt like I needed that, I needed to get away. Now I have a new approach of how I'm thinking about life. Now I feel that life is full of casting. And it's gonna take one of those times to cast my line to catch that fish or catch that job promotion, to move on to the next level or feed my family.
Yeah, because you need that win. Like once you get the win, like they'll keep on rolling. But if you get lost, you don't ever think the win is gonna come until you actually get the win. Like in sports, right? People go on rolls. Like, in basketball, like, I made 10 straight shots, or in football, like, or on hitting streaks. But when you're in the slump, like you said, you need that reset to like, okay, I can do it, like, and go on a roll. But you also said that you mentioned that you're starting a mixology program.
Yeah. So I also work with another nonprofit organization called Veterans Stand Together.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Veterans Stand Together. I work as a director of the hospitality program. Great nonprofit organization. Like I said, Save the Brave focuses on having fun.
Yeah.
Veterans Stand Together focuses on getting a veteran off the street. If you're homeless, they can get you housing. Once you get you housing, they focus on the next step, getting you a job. After they get you a job, they focus on the next step, getting you or helping you buy a home. They're all about building you up every milestone of the way. And an amazing nonprofit. It's ran by a great group of individuals, executive directors, George Casillas, the grant writer, and President Aaron Thumb. These guys dedicate every single day to our veteran community. And our mixology program is an extension of their vocational training that they offer. They have a security program for veterans that need or want to get into the security world. They help them get their guard cards for free. They have a welding program where veterans that want to get into welding, they help them get trained up and certified. They have an electrical vehicle learning center here in San Diego, where they help veterans get into the EV schools, get certified. And recently, we launched our hospitality program, and we launched that with Bastards at our Downey restaurant. And currently, we have a mixology program that was just started this week. We launched the program. So this is day 3 of a cohort of 10 veterans training in the bartending world. So after they're done with the bartending training, it's a 2-week program. They're going to be offered an opportunity to be hired on to Bastards. So they'll also be learning, and they'll be working with fellow veterans.
Yeah, I think that's so cool. Like, this gets overlooked a lot. Like, but building the communities.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Like, in my circle, like, whenever I need something, like, I don't open up the Yellow Pages. I don't go to Google. The first thing is I pull out my cell phone and I call my friends.
Yeah.
Like, hey, who do you know for this? Who do you know does not? Even for like business advice, like, hey, like I call my friends that are business owners, like, hey, what do you think about this? Have you tried that? Like, but you need that community that sometimes it gets overlooked, you know, because so much like people are on their phones a lot and they just disconnect, and like you need this back and forth to build that community. And unfortunately, like I think it gets overlooked a lot. Yeah,
absolutely. I don't know if you heard my conversation before I started this, before I started the podcast. I was calling my dad, right? I know my dad's on his way to LA today. We're in Temecula, and I know he's on his way to LA, and I need a plumber at our Downey restaurant.
Oh yeah.
So first thing I do is I call my dad, because he has properties. He's in that world, right? Yeah. Property management world. So he always has handymen or people available. I'm like, hey Dad, who do we have in the area today? He's like, oh, he's not there. This plumber's not there. He moved to Victorville, but maybe call this guy. I'm like, all right, cool. I'm gonna start there, right? And then if that doesn't work out, then I'm already at the same time. I've already called or texted 3 of my other buddies, because I'd rather feed our own friends and family and circle, right? It's that 6 degrees of separation, right? That we're all connected one way or another, right? So it's maybe a plumber comes and works for me at our Downey restaurant, and he was a friend of a friend of a friend, right? Yeah. Or maybe we go on social media sometimes and we just post it on our social media story. Hey, we're looking for a plumber today, or we're looking for sometimes a dishwasher, because a dishwasher called out for the weekend and I have no time to go and hire. Maybe my friends on my social media on my following list have a son or a daughter that want to come and work for the weekend. Yeah. And that's where it starts. Yeah. Taking care of your own. You know, I say that a lot. You know, in the Marine Corps, we talk about that. We talk about taking care of your own, right? But that's the reason why we started Save the Brave, was that, you know, a lot of my friends were taking their lives. They got back from Iraq. We got back from war, and they were becoming another number. Yeah. That 22 a day. I don't know if you heard of that number, 22 veterans a day. Wow. Average of 22 veterans a day take their life. All right? With the average of 22 veterans a day taking their life, that number was growing so fast. Even in my own battalion, in my own company of 2nd Battalion, 4th Marines, Echo Company, we had 3 to 4 to 5 Marines that took their life. We're like, wait a minute. We're starting to lose guys like we did in Iraq. This needs to stop. So that key word that you just said, taking care of your own, is what kind of clicked and said, okay, I need to take care of my own. And who is my own? Well, I'm gonna start off in my circle, in my company. I'm gonna start off with the 2nd Battalion, 4th Marines, Magnificent Bastards Echo Company, and I'm gonna start taking care of these Marines. After we started taking care of those guys, then we started reaching out. All right, let's start taking care of other Marines. Then after that, it's like, all right, it's not just Marines. It's every branch that needs help. Army, Navy, Air Force, Coast Guard, all of them need support. So that taking care of your own is an extension of you, and you have to be able to take care of your own for your company to not only grow, but to stay alive.
Yeah. Well, I think when, and it's not just the military, right? Also, like people that are in sports, like you have that group of friends, the family, you know, that you're with every day. In sports, like you have that team that you're with every day, and then when it ends, you're kind of lost. Like, where do I go from here? And maybe in some cases you feel alone too. Like I had somebody with me, and like they're gone. Like, now what? You know, and it needs to be lost. Like that's why I think some also too, like in sports, like I never played sports, but I see so many athletes that like when they're done, they're like, you hear bad stories, you know, like stuff happened to them. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think that part's being left out. Like we had a lot of the same things growing up, like where our families were tight. Like when we were younger, like our family was our community. Mm-hmm. That was all that we knew, right? Like you needed something, like your aunt, your uncle, cousin. If my dad wanted to build something in the backyard, like my uncle was there with a 12-pack of beer. Like
yeah, you know the rules. Bring a 12-pack and a carne asada, and you're invited.
Yeah. And then as we get older, like we sort of forget that, and it's important to remember it. You know,
it's very important. Family is everything, and you know, my father and my mother instilled this into me until this day. They remind me that family's first. Yeah. You know, they see me working 7 days a week, 8 days a week, like I say.
Yeah.
25 hours a day, right? No days off. Yeah. Holding a business. They remind me family's first.
Yeah.
And that when I hear that, I remember, you know what? I need to go visit my sister. I need to go visit my nieces and my nephews. Right? I need to go visit them. I need to be present.
Yeah.
I need to go to their soccer game. I need to go to their whatever it is, whatever's going on, being present, because life isn't promised. Right? Might be no tomorrow. All might end tonight on the way home. Yeah. Who knows? But that little time that you do have, you need to put your family first. You need to take care of your own. Not only your friends and your community of veterans with me, but also my family, right? Yeah. Understanding that, right?
Not to keep on hammering it in, but when I was younger, like I would make donations to like Feeding America and Boys and Girls, and like you said, they're all good. They all do good in the community. And something happened, and I got pissed off, and I called my mom to vent. Like, hey, Mom, this happened, and like I'm pissed. Like, it doesn't make me want to help no more, you know. And my parents are really involved in church, so she's like, Mijo, like you don't have to do all these big things to help people. Like, if you see a homeless guy, buy him some food. Like go buy some donuts and some coffee and just drop them off. Like, you'll make their day.
Yeah.
Like, just little things like that, like in the community locally, that make a bigger impact than sometimes like the big gestures, you know? Mm-hmm. So, you're also involved in another nonprofit for businesses.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about.
So that's how we met.
Yeah.
So I opened my Temecula restaurant, Bastard's Canteen Temecula, here in the beautiful city of Temecula, wine country, right?
Yeah.
In 2021. You know, we're a veteran community.
During COVID, right?
During COVID, no, right after COVID. I mean, I guess that's still COVID, right? Yeah. It never really ended, right? We're still going through it right now. And we still feel the effects from prices, from cost of living. It's crazy, especially in our world, in the industry world. It's tough. Yeah. It is tough. They're a very small profit margin now.
Yeah, people don't know that.
Yeah, they don't know that. They don't know that. No. And, you know, you hear the reviews, you hear this, you hear that, but they don't understand why you have to price out your menu at a certain price. You don't know. Yeah. They don't know what it takes that now the delivery service are adding an extra surcharge for gas. You know, beef has gone up, eggs go up, wings go up, chicken goes up. It's not what it used to be.
Yeah.
It's not what it was 2012 when we opened our restaurant.
Yeah.
Right. I remember our prices then. I look at them. I look at our old menu, because I still have the old menus. I still keep them. Right. It's vintage. Right. Yeah. I look at them and I look at our prices now, and I'm like, fuck. Yeah. Like, what's going on?
No, funny thing that I used to have a Mexican food restaurant in like 2007.
Yeah.
Okay, so it was smaller, tacos, burritos, tortas, you know, that kind of thing. But back then, we were charging $5 for a carne asada burrito.
Yeah.
And people were complaining like, oh, it's too much money.
Yeah.
$5, you know? Back then, when I was growing up, it was like 25 cents for a taco.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So $5 for a carne asada, like, oh, it's too much, you know? Like, I sent one of the girls to get me lunch on Monday, and I paid $15
for one burrito.
For one burrito.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even that big. I'm like I should have got.
And that doesn't come with a drink or chips and salsa.
No. Yeah, it's crazy.
But it's not their fault.
Yeah.
You know, the tortillas is costing them, you know, $4 or $5 a pack. Yeah. Sometimes more. You know, that asada is looking at $10 maybe $10 a pound.
Yeah.
Right? Then your beans, rice, salsa, chips. Forget about the cost of goods.
We haven't even got to labor.
The labor and the operating cost.
Yeah.
Is what people forget.
Yeah.
Labor is killing us. This state of California is insane right now.
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, mind you, I understand why the labor is going up because the cost of living is going up, but small businesses are falling at a rapid rate. Yeah. And if this continues, I give in the next 5 years, it's gonna be a huge recession of small business owners shutting down business. I see it already. Yeah. You saw it. How many businesses didn't open?
Yeah.
They say, you know, what an average of, say, 30,000 restaurants minimum in California closed after the pandemic. I want to say it's more.
Well, I was listening to something this morning, and they said we used to have, remember Puente Hills Mall? Puente Hills Mall's closed now.
Puente Hills Mall's closed. A lot of malls closed.
So they went from 2,500 down to 700 malls right now, and they're predicting in the next 10 years there's going to be less than 250 malls in the entire United States.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That's insane. And it's no one bats an eye. Everyone just feels and just rolls with the punches. Yeah. And what can we do? You know, as business owners, as restaurant owner, I'm constantly, you know, looking at ways to maximize profits, right? Yeah. Whether it's like you said, oh, well, now you open at 3. I'm like, yeah, I have to open at 3 o'clock because from 12 to 3, I'm spending, you know, over 50 to 100% on labor. Yeah. And I tried it for 3-4 months, but in Temecula, it's a different animal than in Downey, where you're in LA and there's a couple million people to play with. I'm paying with a couple 100,000 right here, and everybody's trying to say the same people, right? Yeah. So it's like understanding that and saying, okay, I got to assess the situation and network and try to bring more business in, like we're doing with our nonprofit that we just launched. Yeah. But that's just what, you know, having the Marine Corps embedded in me and not giving up and finding a way to move forward with this mission, which is staying open, is what keeps us going. Is what keeps me going. Yeah. Understanding that, all right, maybe this isn't working. How can I go? How can I navigate in this restaurant world so I can stay alive? All right, I need to do this. I need to do this. I need to do that. Right. So, talking about, you know, how is that related to our nonprofit, the Latino Network, Inland Empire Latino Network. And how it started was because in 2021, when I opened my restaurant here, I realized that there was a void. We realized there was a void, right? There was a void in Latino business owners gravitating and coming together, because a lot of the times, you know, especially in LA and Downey, it's a Latino community. Yeah. There's Latinos everywhere, and you know, your business owner next to you, you know, everyone on the block is a Latino. Yeah. Here, it's not the case, right? You know, we take care of our own, right? We keep saying that, right? We take care of our own. As Latinos, we understand we don't want each other to fail. We try to help each other. And here, I felt that
it's a different culture.
It was a different culture, and I didn't have anyone that, I have other veterans. Yeah, there's a Chamber of Commerce. But I couldn't relate to them to where it's a Latino talking to another Latino, and they understand our struggle of not just being a business owner, but being first generation, second generation, and coming from nothing, coming as an immigrant to this country. My parents came as immigrants, and starting with nothing, and moving to where we are today, where I can't call my mom, my dad, or my grandpa, or my grandmother and expect that they're gonna give me a loan. It doesn't work that way. I got to figure it out on my own. So we needed a Latino network to be able to fall back on each other and take care of each other.
Yeah, I'm gonna sidetrack for a second, dude. So about the helping each other part. So when I had my restaurant, next to me was a carniceria, and carnicerias also sell food, burritos, tacos to go, you know. And it was me and one of my cooks. I was working the front, he was working the back, and then an order comes in for fajitas. And, you know, like, not all the dishes get ordered every day.
Yeah.
So we were out of bell peppers.
Yeah.
And he's grilling the meat, you know, and in the middle of making the order, he's like, fuck, we don't have bell peppers. So in the middle of the lunch, he runs out of the restaurant, and I'm like, what the hell? Did he just quit?
Yeah.
He runs next door and grabs some bell peppers and comes back, like chops it up. I'm like, where did you go? He's like, oh, we ran out of bell peppers, so I handled it, you know?
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, that's freaking badass.
And that's the same, and that's the type of environment that I have in Downey at the restaurant. All the local business owners, every business on that block, you run out of fries, you run out of to-go boxes, you run out of cups, you run out of napkins, you run out of oil, whatever it is you run out of, you can just give them a call, text. You don't have to give them a call. You just walk over. Hey, can I get a bag of this? Can I get a bag of that? And then we all owe each other one thing or another. And it's just because we understand that we want each other to succeed.
Yeah.
Because if one person succeeds, it's a trickle effect. That entire block becomes a happening zone. It's popping. And now everybody wants to come and hang out there.
Yeah.
All right?
And I think it's good. Like, it's not good that the malls are closing, because when I was a kid, that was our hangout, the Puente Hills Mall and the West Covina Mall and the Montebello Mall. Those were our hangouts.
Mine was the Montebello.
Like we'd go like on the weekends, right? Like go to the movies.
Go to AMC Theater down the street.
Look at the girls. And at Puente Hills Mall, it was...
and you had to take your pen and notepad to get numbers, because when you have all these
cell phones and
Instagram and Snapchat.
Yeah. Remember the photo booths taking the pictures?
Oh yeah, I have a couple of those.
But with that being gone, like we need
glamour shots.
The glamour shots. We need those little small communities. Like I was in TJ the other day, and it's not a mall, but it was a shopping center, and it's like everything is there, and that's like the hangout spot. And it's important. We need to build those little communities, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, so a little bit more about the Latino Network.
So with the Latino Network, it started off with meeting with Angie Lopez, who runs the Latinas Temecula and Murrieta. Kim with Kim and Cloth, who has a boutique here in Old Town Temecula. Cristinita with Cristinita's Cocina. She has Puerto Rican cuisine. And you, Ed, that you have a successful insurance company and a vast amount of network here in Temecula, Inland Empire, and we decided to say, hey, let's put our brains together and let's see how we can support our Latino community, to whether it's support with starting your LLC, because not all businesses have that, right? Whether it's going down to City Hall and getting your business license, or it's help with your P&L or getting a CPA class in here and having having an accountant talk about the important parts of a business and what you shouldn't look past, right? We felt that we can fill that void, and we could be a place here at Basher's Canteen, not only for veterans, like a modern day VFW American Legion, but for a Latino community that can be a place for them to call home and congregate once a month and say, okay, now we're not only gonna meet here and have some drinks and good food and talk. No, you're gonna meet here and you're also gonna walk out that day with a lesson learned. So what we like to do is we like to have a period of instruction, to where it's not only a guest speaker talking about their life and success to motivate you, you're gonna walk out with the class. Last month we had a tax from Elite Accountant, right? Elite Accountants came by for free. They gave a free class to all the Latino networks, business representatives and participants for that day. And some of them are not even, some of them are just thinking about launching a business. Not all of them have a business. There's 17-year-olds here that are launching their business and they're learning. And they're surrounded by other Latinos that already have made it, that can teach them and take them under their wing as mentors. And that's what we're here to do, right? We're here to teach and to also learn, because I learn something every day. I learned a lot just being there and networking and getting people to come to the restaurant. And a lot of them didn't even know that a restaurant existed. So it's great for all of us.
Yeah. And I hate to keep on beating the same drum, but the community, we're putting all of our resources together. Like we each draw from each other. Angie did a great job, organizing everything. And when I was growing up, I didn't have friends or mentors that were business owners. That wasn't in my community.
Or Latino business owners.
Yeah, of course. There was nobody in my family was that person, you know?
Yeah.
So I didn't have the mentorship to know where to go. And even till this day, like, I have a family member, hopefully he doesn't mind me sharing this, but he has a corporation and we're trying to insure one of his cars and it's in his name. I'm like, hold on a second, dude. Like, why isn't it in your corporation name? That's the whole point of having the corporation, to take your liability out of it. And he's like, oh, I never thought about it. And this is somebody that's been in business for 20 years. That sucks.
Yeah.
That sucks.
Yeah.
It's not his fault.
No, but he needs people like us, like you, to speed him up and get him up to speed. Because there's a lot you can learn from him, but there's also a lot you can learn from you.
Yeah.
Right? So it's about putting your pride aside and saying, all right, how can I learn today, and what can I learn, and what can I teach?
Yeah.
Right? Because we're all in this together.
Yeah. I have I try to do it like once, twice a week. I'll take my customers out and just to lunch, and like just to pick their brain and to go back and forth and just see what they have to share with me, and vice versa. I have a customer, he has like a multi-million-dollar tow truck business. Like, he's got millions of dollars in tow trucks. The guy's in his 20s and he's just like running like men, like a crew of men, you know? I'm like, dude, how do you do that, you know? And it's cool. Like, it's somebody that's almost 15 years younger than me,
Yeah.
and I'm still
Learning from him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, it's very, very important.
Yeah.
Nick, before we wrap up, anything else that you want to add? Anything else that you want to?
Well, I definitely want to invite, everyone, whether you're a Latino, whether you're not a Latino, whether you're a veteran or a veteran supporter, I'd love to invite you to Bastard's Canteen.
Yeah.
All right. What is Bastard's Canteen? It's a home for veterans. It's a home for veterans and our community, where veterans and the community unite.
And the food is great, dude.
Thank you. Thank you.
I've had burgers and the barbecue, and it's
Thank you. We have events every day of the week. You can find out more information on bastardscanteen.com. The next big event that we're hosting is our Marine Corps birthday on November 10th, and November 11th, we're hosting our Veterans Day celebration here. Both of those events are in honor of Save the Brave, which is our nonprofit organization. So proceeds from that event will 100% benefit Save the Brave and our mission at Save the Brave to continue to support our community. So think of Bastards as a modern day VFW American Legion, where veterans can call home and have a place to relax, sit at the bar, and not worry about watching their six.
Yeah.
Right?
And now also for small business owners too. And the community in general.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thanks, Nick.
You're very welcome.
All right, man. Have a good one. Thank you.